Welcome to OS on the BBC World Service. I'm Krupa Padhy. We sit in the middle of this BBC newsroom each weekday at this time and bring you the stories happening around the world as they happen. We'll take you to Hong Kong in just a moment. But one other story which has had close global attention over the past 48 to 72 hours, in fact the entire weekend when the interview first was broadcast, is that BBC interview with Prince Andrew of the British royal family. He's the Queen's son and he was also a friend of the US financier Jeffrey Epstein. He took his own life whilst awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges back in August 2019. Now, one of the things we like to do on OS is bring you insight into what happens here behind the scenes and how such interviews come together and the impression that they leave on presenters and producers as well. In this case, it was the BBC's Newsnight programme that did that interview, and we'll hear from them about their exclusive in this half hour as well. But you will have heard in our bulletin about the ongoing violence, that standoff in Hong Kong where it has just gone midnight. The screens here in the newsroom have been fixated on what is happening outside that university campus, and just as we go on air they have actually switched for a pause. But let's start with the tensions at that university campus as well, where hundreds of protesters have been trapped by police who have surrounded it. The Polytechnic University is the latest focus of those long-running protests in the Chinese territory. And earlier, as I was saying on our feeds, we were seeing protesters escaping by climbing down ropes from a footbridge, so taking dramatic steps to actually escape. Some who have left the campus have been met with rubber bullets and tear gas. Let's take a moment to hear a voice of one of the protesters who is still inside the campus. He spoke to the BBC in the last hour and he doesn't want us to use his real name. Like many people, he's been concerned about his safety, so we're going to call him Tom.
I'm hiding in the PolyU, the campus. I think there's around 100 students are still inside in our campus right now. I have tried to get out in this afternoon. We have tried to get out from campus for 4 times. The Hong Kong police is stopping us from leaving the campus in PolyU. They use their rubber bullets and tear gas to stop our movement and force us to get back into the campus of PolyU. Because the police is stopping us all the supplies, just like the medical supplies, the food supplies. We only get the water in our campus, but we don't get enough food and medicine for our students. I am pretty scared right now because in the last night in Hong Kong, the police said they will use the deadly weapon to make us lock in the campus anymore. I think the police will come in and will arrest us all. If we struggle from them, they will open the fire to us to prevent us to get out from the campus. I decided to hide in the campus until the police to get out from around our campus. If they are leave, and that means we are safe.
And that is the voice of a young man that we've been calling Tom. That's not his real name, but he asked us to not reveal his name for his safety. And it should be said that our producer Luke has been trying throughout the course of the day to get in touch with protesters who are still trapped inside the building. But many, of course, are very fearful about speaking to the media. And right now they're talking about a lack of food and medical resources, and that is their priority right now. We've also heard the perspective from the Chinese authorities a little earlier. Here's what China's ambassador to the United Kingdom, Liu Xiaoming, told a news conference.
Hong Kong's international rating has been downgraded. Its international image, business environment were under severe impact. In media reports, Hong Kong is now associated with incessant violence and disorder. The success and achievements of the past 22 years since the handover are being eroded. The once oriental pearl is turning into an oriental scar. Hong Kong, the fragrant harbor, is sliding into an abyss of chaos. The future of Hong Kong, if such situation continues, would be unimaginable, dreadful.
So that's a government perspective. Let's take a look at it from a reporter's eyes. Earlier, I caught up with BBC's Martin Yip, who's been covering the protests.
I'm standing next to the entrance to a bridge, a footbridge or flyover that leads into one of the few entrances into the university compound. And this is a relatively quiet point comparing to all other protest sites. There's just a handful of people here, including some who are in support of students and some who are believed to be parents of those who are still trapped inside the compound, who's been talking to the riot police just a few moments ago peacefully, and apparently they've handed over some food stuff like crackers and all that to be taken into the campus. But just down the other side of the road, still in this area called Tim Sha Tsui East, is normally a busy tourism and business district, also a bit of a nightclub district as well in the evening, with bars, pubs, sauna houses, that kind of stuff. Just another 4 to 5 double-deckers down the road from where I am, so that's around 50 meters, 70 meters. There were another group of protesters and riot police trading petrol bombs and tear gas not so long ago. I can still see flames burning on the ground.
So it's evident from what you're telling me that things are far from calm, that they are incredibly intense from every angle, from where you are right now. I want to tap into a few of the things that you just mentioned there. First of all, can you give me an understanding of how many students may be inside that campus as we speak?
Well, earlier in the day, we've been hearing a statistic of around 500. That was a figure given by the acting president of the student union of the Polytechnic University. Now we still believe several hundreds are still inside, and it's a mix of both students and non-student protesters in the facility. Some have tried to leave the campus and then got arrested right away. And just a few moments ago, we were hearing lines from local media saying some have tried to climb away using roofs, and then they were apprehended by the police already.
Yes, and we've also been seeing those pictures as well, Martin, of young people, all ages rather, as you just mentioned, climbing down ropes, climbing out of windows using ropes to escape as well. You also mentioned in your first answer a moment ago that you've been having conversations with parents as well. They must be hugely concerned. Talk me through those conversations you've been having with them.
Oh yes, we've talked to a few of them, and some of them are in tears, badly in tears, and they are so worried about their loved ones inside the campus. But at least one of them were telling us that even though her kid is now trapped inside the campus, she's proud of him, and she's basically in support of the protest herself as well. So she's so emotional. She believes the police would treat him brutally, and of course the police have denied all these accusations. So it's quite a tense atmosphere back here a few moments ago, just that they were calmed by Christian pastors as well as social workers and the scene. They managed to hold some sort of peaceful sit-in protest, waiting for any news that would be available from inside the campus. And so far, we understand that it's still relatively peaceful inside the Polytechnic University compound. And according to local media, first aiders from Hong Kong Red Cross have been allowed to get inside and see students who've been injured in the past 24 hours during numerous clashes.
Yes, and you talk about the parents being hugely concerned about what's going on inside, but I assume they must be just as concerned as to what might happen to their sons and daughters when they eventually leave that campus as well, because police have indicated that there will be arrests.
Yes, and that's the tricky situation here, where we have the police in one hand requesting, if not demanding, these 500 or several hundred people to leave the campus as soon as possible in a peaceful and orderly manner. They also say we would arrest you anyway, and we are charging you with rioting, and this is an offense that could end them up in jail for up to 10 years if found guilty. So that's it's an obvious dilemma for both sides, and of course for those who are not in support of the protest, they they might just treat this as some sort of leniency, because for those who are not in support of this campaign, they always believe these people should have been arrested and locked up in jails.
I want to tap into that a bit more. Those who are not in support of these protests, we don't hear much from them, Martin.
Well, they do voice their anger as well. Just that there's always some people from the pro-Beijing camps maintaining the claims that these are what they call the silent majorities. But are they actually silent majorities? At least in the past weekends, we saw people coming out voluntarily, as they claim, clearing up roadblocks in other facilities like the Baptist University, City University of Hong Kong, as well as the University of Hong Kong. Those sites were also blocked up by protesters and protesting students, and we saw people coming out volunteering to do these cleanup jobs, and they told local press they just fed up with it, they just want to go to work. And of course, in between, there's also the same time we saw soldiers from the People's Liberation Army coming out and say they are helping to clean up voluntarily as well. Although there ends up being another dilemma, which is, according to the Basic Law as well as China's own legislation governing these soldiers in Hong Kong, they are not supposed to come out of the barracks to conduct any activity unless they are authorized by Beijing.
And that's clearly a sign, isn't it?
Yes, that's why some pundits are trying to put up lines in a way that they believe the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, are trying to warn Hong Kongers that they don't need to intervene in this protest. But if they want to, they can always do, just that kind of scaring tactics, if you like.
Just during our conversation back to what is happening on the streets, we're seeing huge crowds gathering. These are people, I believe, who are in support of the protesters who are inside the campus. Is that correct?
Apparently so, and that's why there were quite a number of major thoroughfares in the area west of the Polytechnic University's campus into this area I just mentioned, Tsim Sha Tsui, being blocked off by protesters in different ways, by marching themselves on the roads, by spraying bricks, if I can call it that way, on the motorways to block the roads. And there are pictures showing tens of thousands of them doing exactly that since the evening.
A busy night ahead there for Martin Yip, our reporter, who just gave us a bit of insight as to what is happening on the ground. That story continues to develop. The cameras have switched back on from our agency feeds from the Reuters news agency. Obviously, night has fallen there. It's very difficult to see exactly what is going on, but we know that the cameras are fixed outside that university campus. Media have gathered and the police remain there. We'll bring you updates as we get them.